Welcome to Motherhood. I'm Dr. Christina Hibbert, here to help you overcome, become, and flourish through this interesting ride we call motherhood. And today's topic is definitely along the interesting lines. We're going to be talking about moms and entrepreneurship and how you can be a mom and an entrepreneur and make that work for you. So whether you are a mom who's working already outside the home, whether you're a mom who's working exclusively inside the home, whatever your situation, this is going to be a fun show. So stick around because we have an excellent expert here today who knows a lot about this topic and can share some really exciting experiences with us in just a little bit. So hang tight. In the meantime, I want to welcome you to the show and thank you for joining us each week. As you know, on this show, we're here to help you choose to grow through motherhood and not just go through it, because it's a whole lot more fun to grow through it and to grow through it together. And that's what this show is all about. So I hope that you will also join us, or that maybe you already have joined us on my website at drchristinahibbert.com for more resources and information and videos, and also to sign up for some free gifts if you're interested. And also on social media. We're on all the social media channels. Just look for Dr. Christina Hibbert. You'll find me there. And on YouTube. I don't know if you know this, but many of these episodes are actually video recorded as well. And they're featured on my YouTube channel. So look for Dr. Christina Hibbert on YouTube. And you can see the video of the interviews as well. And today, there's an exciting new thing we're going to be starting as well. It's what I call Dr. Christie's Simple Solutions. Now, this is a new segment that I'm going to be starting today and doing each week with each episode, in which I get to feature some of my favorite products, ideas, programs, and solutions to whatever kinds of problems I think moms are facing. So I'm grateful for this idea because it gets me to be able to share with you the things that I use in my life to help my life be a little more simple or, more meaningful or more rich or whatever you want to call it. And we're going to be starting that today. So stick around because the Simple Solution segment is going to be at the end of the show. And I want you to be able to hear about it because today's Simple Solution is going to focus on what do you do when you don't know what to do and you don't know who to ask and you need some little tips or advice on different things. Well, that's what today's Simple Solution is going to focus on, and we'll talk all about it later in the show. Now, again, our show today is on moms and entrepreneurship. And I was, when I was preparing for this, I was thinking, I first of all do not want any moms, any of you listeners out there to feel like this show is not for you. Because let's face it, no matter where you are working, you're definitely working as a mom. Whether you're working in the home full-time with your kids, some people identify as a stay-at-home mom. Some people call themselves a work-at-home mom. Some people call themselves a full-time working mom, part-time, whatever. There's all kinds of names. But the truth is that we're all not too many kids. I thought maybe 4. But anyway, I thought I wanted a fairly large family and I want to stay at home. And then I had a baby and I loved him and he was wonderful, but yikes. I realized I didn't want to have too many kids and I didn't know how I felt about being home all the time because I just felt like there were so many other things that I wanted to do in my life. And, I think a lot of us sometimes feel like as moms, how do we do those things and still be a quote unquote good mom? And, so I've, on and off struggled with that over the years. And I've had times when I would work here and there, and then I went to graduate school when I had 2 little kids. And after graduate school and gave birth to my 3rd baby right before I graduated. And, then I took time off. I took a full year off and usually did that after every baby was born so I could just be home and working and try to get sleep, working with my kids as a mom, trying to get some sleep and trying to be normal and mentally healthy. And it wasn't until in 2007 when I finally had this experience where I had my 4th baby and inherited my nephews all at the same time and went from 3 to 6 kids, which again, never say you don't want 6 kids, because I used to say that all the time to my mom because I'm the oldest of 6, and I would say, Mom, how could you have 6 kids? That's so many kids, and I hated babysitting, and I will never have that many kids, but never say never. Anyway, so now here I am as a mom of 6, and I quit everything. And, I did feel like I had accomplished some of my goals because I had done some things in the field of postpartum depression where I'd been working. And as a psychologist, I felt like I'd been doing good work there. But I quit all that. And I really felt like I'm never going to be able to pursue my dreams. I have too many kids now. It's not going to happen. My kids are grieving. I knew that my full-time focus at that time needed to be on my family. And it was a good feeling to know that. But underneath that, I think there was a fear of, but am I ever going to be able to do these things like be an author or a speaker or et cetera, et cetera. And obviously, I'm proof that yes, you can do those things. But there are seasons in our life. And that's kind of the main point I wanted to share is, the best way I can say it is how I wrote it in This Is How We Grow on page 5. There is a reason for every season of growth. Just like the scripture says, a time to every purpose, a time to break down, a time to build up. Like fall fades to winter and spring blooms to summer, we can choose to grow through the seasons of our life. And that's what we're talking about today, that no matter what season you're in, there is a season when you can build up and when you can grow through any season of your life. And we're going to focus today on how you can do that, how you can get out there and fulfill your goals and your dreams, and that maybe they'll even become better than you ever dreamed. I never thought I'd be doing a radio show, and this is great fun. I'm loving it. So you never know where life's going to take you, but you have to get out there and try when the season's right. And that's what we're focusing on today. So let me go ahead and finally introduce our wonderful guest, who is a dear friend of mine, Elisa All. Elisa, welcome to my show.
So happy to be here, Christy. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here too, because first of all, we get to just spend time talking, and the listeners don't know this, but we can see each other because we're on Skype. And it's always fun when I get to have a friend and colleague, but a friend, true friend, to get to hang out with for an hour. So that's like a treasure in itself, right? You don't get that very often. So let me introduce you first, Elisa, and then we'll jump right in and you can start sharing all your wisdom. As I said earlier, Elisa is truly an expert on this topic. And if you hear just a little of her bio, you'll understand what I mean. So Elisa is actually an award-winning entrepreneur, and she's the founder of 30 Second Mobile. And this is a mobile company. It's a mobile media company that provides what she calls snackable content for busy people in 30 seconds or less. But before that, Elisa founded iParenting Media, which was a highly regarded .com that was actually acquired by the Walt Disney Company, if anybody's heard of them, I don't know, in 2007. And that's a pretty big deal. We're going to hear about that. So I'm excited to hear her story about that. I've never really heard you tell it, Elisa, so I'm excited to hear about that. But she also led that company to be recognized as Best of the Web by Newsweek, U.S. News and World Report, the London Times, and more. She also led the custom division at iParenting, which created specialty content and digital consumer relationship marketing campaigns. I don't even know what that all means, but it sounds really good. For Fortune 500 companies like Kimberly-Clark, Colgate-Palmolive, Philips Norelco, and AT&T. And she also served as editor-in-chief of 6 national newsstand magazines, Pregnancy, Baby Years, Women's Health and Fitness, and a few others, as well as for 10 years, she was a columnist for the Sun-Times Media Group. And 8 years, she was a co-host of a radio show called Points on Parenting in Chicago. Yeah, so I'm like, oh, great, you know what you're doing, so this will just be easy today, right? And then, just to add in a few extra little pieces of info, she also did earn a bachelor's degree in communications from the University of Wisconsin-Madison and her master's in journalism from Northwestern University. And she was recently recognized by UW-Madison with its entrepreneurial achievement award.
Yes.
Which is a pretty big deal. And she also serves on Northwestern University's Council of 100, which is a mentoring organization made up of Northwestern's leading alumni. She's very involved in her alma maters, which is pretty awesome. And of course, she's a mom of 3 amazing teenagers, one of whom just went to college, and twin girls who are still home in high school. And
yes.
Wow. So
living the dream, just like everybody,
That's right. That's right. Living the dream. Well, and you really are living the dream. I mean, you've had some pretty interesting experiences, and I'm I'm glad you're going to share them with us today. But let's kind of start with this question, the big question, which is to work. And I have to say, to work outside the home or to not work outside the home. Because again, everybody's working. We're all working no matter what.
So,
what do you think? Why do you think this is such a struggle for mom? And what's your take on this one?
it is the question. And it's such a big question because, a lot of us moms, when we're having our first baby, this is actually when I started my first business when I was pregnant with my first. And I was kind of trying to figure this out on the fly, if you will. But I always thought that, kind of like you, Christy, that I would, stay home and at least for a while to, be with my baby. I really wanted that time together. But then, this kind of natural personality trait that I have of, wanting to stay occupied, my brain engaged, those types of things, it started to take over actually when I was pregnant. And I was searching for information and realized that there was a need for a pregnancy publication. Like, what's going on with my body? What's going on with this baby? I'd like, to know. And so that's kind of how my business grew, was through a personal need for information, fresh, timely content about pregnancy. Mm-hmm. And so again, as I realized that I had a business idea during pregnancy and I launched it, as I was sort of giving birth to, my baby, I was also giving birth to this business.
Wow.
I thought, well, gosh, how am I going to do this? I had never really planned on being an entrepreneur, but it kind of just happened. Mm-hmm. And then it was about balancing, like, okay, I want to be home with my baby, but I want to do this business. I'm very excited by it. And it's something that, challenged me. So I started by working in the home, and I built my business as a, work at home mom. But, as you know, there's many labels for that. But I think that's the struggle that so many women face, is that, okay, I've got this really, slick corporate job. Do I go back after maternity leave, or, am I going to stay home? And a lot of people choose one or the other.
Right. Because you're making a great point, because not everybody's job is as flexible as yours was at the time.
Yes.
And as like mine is now. I still say I'm mostly a stay-at-home mom. My kids are in school now, so I can do a lot of stuff during the day,
Right, exactly.
You can kind of have the best of both worlds, but not everybody can. And there is, don't you think, also this kind of like stigma, I don't know, or what you want to call it, but around one or the other. It seems like you can't kind of win no matter what you do.
Well, yeah, right. And it's this kind of mommy war mentality where the stay-at-home moms are resentful of the working moms, and the working moms resentful of the stay-at-home moms. And first of all, we have to just get over that, right? Because,
amen.
Right? Everybody is entitled to their own lifestyle choice and what works for their families. And so let's all just, love each other and be peaceful with each other. And, but yeah, I think that everyone has to go through that process of figuring out, okay, this is what's important to me, and how do I align my choice with the sacrifice that will inevitably come with that choice. One thing will have to go, whether it's time, if you choose to work outside of the home, then you lose a little bit of that time with the baby. Whereas if you, stay home, you're going to lose your career momentum. Maybe if you're working towards certain roles that you want to achieve at your job or what have you, you're going to lose something. You're going to sacrifice. And I think that's why your point about seasons is so perfect, because you can have it all, just not all at once, right?
Yes, that is so
whoever
true.
said that is a genius,
Yes,
I will not take credit for that, because someone smarter than me has already realized and shared that message. But it's I have found it to be very true.
Yeah, I agree. That's so true. And you're right. If we can just sort of recognize where we are and what season we're in and what we need, then we can feel kind of at peace and let go of the other things out there, the world that's kind of pulling us and telling us we should do this or we should do that. Because let's face it, I mean, yes, young babies is a time when many of us feel drawn to be at home more, but also, right. You and I are both in the midst of teenagers, and they need us more too. Like, I know you and I have both had to kind of scale back in a lot of ways so we can be there for our older kids too.
Absolutely. I've said that on a number of occasions, that I feel more needed now than I was back then. Because at a certain level, when your baby is young, there's, they need diaper changes, they need to be fed, they need, they want their mothers, of course, but other people can substitute for those kind of more physical needs that they have. Whereas when they get older, it's more of an emotional rather than a physical challenge. Although I do serve as a chauffeur, quite a bit. So it is something. But you know what I mean? It's like you need to be there for these emotional ups and downs and the guidance that the older kids do need.
Right. So it sounds like what you're saying, and I agree with, is just it's important for us to kind of take stock of what our family needs are, what our personal needs are, what our work needs are, and try to kind of make it work depending on where we are in life. And that sometimes it's the time to go for it, and sometimes it's the time to sort of scale back and be home more.
Absolutely. And actually, it's coming to mind, a friend of mine she made the decision to stay in her very high-powered career when she had babies, when she had children, and she made the conscious decision that when her kids started school, she was going to quit. And I'm like, why is that? And she explained to me at the time, because it didn't seem like, I think a lot of women do the opposite, right? When their kids go to school, they go back to work. Mm-hmm. But she said, I want to be there for every single carpool, the dropping off in the morning, the picking up after school, the being the room mom, all those things that you do when your kids start school. You can become very busy, going on field trips, things like that. She thought that her kids would have the memories of her being there all the time when they're older, as opposed to when they were babies. They don't really remember those years of mom not being there because she was working and there was a nanny or whatever. But she said, my kids will remember that I was always there. I brought the cookies for the birthday party. I was like that fixture in their lives. I was like, wow, that's interesting. So
I've never heard that. Yeah, that is an interesting take, but it makes sense. Yeah. It does make sense. And it's smart to think ahead and kind of think about those kinds of things and plan ahead. Well, okay, so let's talk about this idea of creating your own business, which you've done many times. And I think what I want to kind of emphasize one point that you brought out that we kind of glossed over, but you said your first business came out of your own necessity. And I think that is the case for many people, that you never think that you'll be doing X, Y, or Z, or you don't know what causes you're going to be involved in or what you're going to love down the road, but you needed that at a certain time, or you went through a life experience that made you passionate about something, and that becomes your organization or something. I founded a coalition in 2005 for postpartum depression, and I was like you. I was like obsessively working out all the time because I just had to help other moms because I had suffered from it. So
absolutely, you get passionate about something after you've been through it, and it makes you feel more personally connected. And what I always say is that passion is truly what drove my business. When I got into it, I had no sort of goal of, I want to be acquired by the Walt Disney Company. That wasn't,
Who would think that, right? I mean, no one would think that.
I mean, well, maybe there are some persons in the world.
There are probably people who think that, but I mean,
and they've gone out and done it, and they hit that goal. But I didn't. I was doing it purely out of they do say, right, another smart person, necessity is the mother of invention, and that's truly what happened. With me. And I thought, if I want this, if I need this information, surely other pregnant women will. And I did, research to back that up. I didn't just go into it blindly without knowing that there was a market there. But it was the love of what I was doing and the belief that I was making a difference and helping other people that drove me. And it just, putting excellence out there, is what ultimately led to the success. You're building, you're putting great stuff into the world. You're getting accolades like the ones that you mentioned that kind of shine a light on your business and what you're doing. And then people notice. Mm-hmm. And so while you don't go knocking on the door and saying, hello, do you want to, take a look at this? People notice and they inquire, are you interested? And, so I started having discussions before I knew it, really, with some very large companies, and they liked what we were doing quite a bit. And so it ended up being acquired by Disney, and that was an incredible experience, as you can imagine. Overwhelming, to be honest, but absolutely amazing.
So let's back up a little bit because I want to hear more about this. So you started this iParenting business when you were pregnant.
Right.
And then it sort of evolved. How many years did it kind of evolve before you ended up selling it off? And then kind of tell us what happened when Disney approached and how that all happened. I think people want to hear about that.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I mean, it was such a incredible journey. So, expectant mom going through pregnancy for the first time, sort of that's overwhelming enough, right, of an experience. But then having this, business that you're so excited about. And of course, this was in 1996. I'm dating myself now, but it was really very early on in the internet space. Mm-hmm. So we were able to become kind of one of the, earliest, if you will, but not really the earliest, but, among the early websites. But I think that's not what differentiated us as much as the quality of what we were doing. It was all about being the best, putting out the best, getting experts like you to give great information to people. And so that's kind of how we, shone a light on our business, and then survived the dot-com, the whole roller coaster of the bubble, and then the bubble bursting. It was a very, very crazy time. We were just, fortunate that we had a strong enough business that could weather that type of tumultuous activity in the marketplace. So kept working. You noted also about that we were differentiated by having magazines. We did radio, we had print, so it wasn't all about, just being a .com.
So that all came out of iParenting.com.
Exactly. The beauty of what we were doing is we were putting out all this great content, so we were able to form partnerships with other forms of media. So a partnership with a magazine publisher, partnership with the newspaper, they all were attracted to this great content. So we were just basically sharing it in different forms of media, which again was a differentiator. We weren't just a .com. We were sort of this, content syndicator, licensor, producer. It was a very, very cool, fun business. I loved it. It was so
fun.
And we would just grow. We realized the need to grow from the pregnancy market. So as I was, I had a 1-year-old baby, I had a 2-year-old baby. I'm like, okay, we can't just focus on pregnancy because mom's needs are evolving, right? So we need to have a baby site, then a toddler site. And so that's what we did. We ended up having a network of about 43 websites that were under this iParenting umbrella that started with preconception, and then pregnancy today, babies today, toddlers today. We had this entire network up through raising teenagers, and then everything in between. We had grandparents. We had
wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It was life, the whole entire life cycle.
And I want to point out one important thing you're saying. You keep saying we, because obviously you started this, but you could never do all this all by yourself, right? So you must have surrounded yourself with some good people to help you with this.
Gosh, we did. We had an amazing team. Ended up being 200 contributors, and a wonderful team based here in the Chicago area. And it just was one of those things, like I said, never expected to take off as big as it was. I thought it would be a nice business that I could run from, I was in the sunroom of my home, and I say, like if I would have started it in the garage, it would be even bigger, all the great .coms were started in a garage,
Man. Or a basement.
My mistake. I thought, I'd be, baby would be napping. I'd do my 3 hours of work a day, and that would be it. But over time, it became too big, and so we actually had an office space, and I would go to work, and we did have a babysitter, and then I would come home. When I had my twins a couple of years later, I was nursing, for a couple of years. I was nursing my twins. I'd run home. The office was close enough. I'd run home and nurse them and go back to work, and then
wow. And twins also. I mean, my goodness. I don't know how you functioned.
It was quite a lot. Yeah.
But I think one thing that you said too that, point out to our listeners here is that when you do have that passion, you start with a passion, and then you start doing the work, and then you start to see where the needs are, and then you start to have a passion for that new need and that new need. And that's how things kind of, like you said, the other important word was evolve. This is kind of how you can create a business and be an entrepreneur and a mom. You don't force it. You let things, It sounds like you kind of let things evolve as they needed to. And
then of course, as you see things growing, you adjust your business plan accordingly, and, set new goals. Once you've achieved certain goals, you need to keep setting new goals and hitting those, and reevaluating. That one of your questions is, how do you know, if you should stay small or get big? And so the turning point, I think, in that business was, and I love to share this story because it gives people, I think, so much hope that if I can do this, anyone can do this.
Yeah,
I wanted to start my next website. We had this really nice, strong pregnancy site, but I wanted to build out the baby site, but I knew I needed money. Like, how am I going to do that? So just based on incoming pitches from different companies who wanted to work with us on the pregnancy side, I was able to talk with one of them about the baby site. And I said, well, yeah, the pregnancy site is great, but do I have an offer for you?
Yes.
And so I said, I would love to, build out this baby website. I want you to be the, launch sponsor of it. And it's, to my surprise, yes, we will do that. The next day, this wonderful woman sent me a check for $25,000. And I was like, oh, I was like, wow.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, wow, money just like that. What?
It's unbelievable. It was wonderful. And that really set us on the path of knowing, okay, there is interest, there is, a business here that's going to keep growing and growing. And so that was really the turning point for me. And then in 1999, it was raising money was the thing to do. So we did that, moved the business out of the house, had the whole investor thing. And then once you take on investors, that's a huge turning point for any business. It becomes very, very more structured and, a lot more guidelines and things in place for how you're going to run a business. And so you have to be give a lot of thought to if that's a direction that you want to go for your business.
Because that's kind of the big business that you're talking about versus keeping it small. And also you have kind of more outside pressure when you have investors and, it's not just you doing what you want to do.
No, there's a lot of, absolutely. They're expecting a return on their investment. There's a lot of accountability. You are responsible for your employees and a lot of things. So, and hitting all those goals that I was telling you about. There's a lot of things that you need to keep in mind when you do that and take on, you're not the only owner of your business anymore. There are other people who are owners too, and they, will have a lot of expectations of you. So there's a different type of pressure. There's pressure being on your own for sure. And then there's pressure in a different way when you're not alone, it cuts both ways.
So your business started growing. You decided to go big and move out of the house, and you have all these people now working with you and investors and stuff. And so then how did it progress from there?
Okay. So we were growing in many ways. We were growing through capital and employees and different types of revenue streams. And it was all very fun. But, again, like this level of, wow, this is, getting pretty big. And we had, at one point, I think we had about 20 employees. And that was, really sort of, I was like, wow, it was a lot going on, which was fun. We actually had a really nice, cool office space that was very .com-like, brick exposed ceilings and walls and very lofty. It was very cool. And talking about the dream, that was very, very cool back then. We started just getting, I think more and more inquiries started coming from other companies. And of course, with that whole .com hype, other companies wanted to get bigger faster. And so there was companies that were looking to just get a shot in the arm by acquiring a company just for their, users or whatever their interest was. So he had to be really careful about, what do we want to do with the business? And by that point, it was like another baby. It was a child. It was like we loved it. You just nurture it, pour your heart into it. And so it's very hard to think about not having it anymore, or not being part of it or whatever. So it became a journey of trying to eventually, I'm not talking, this didn't all happen quickly though. In total, it was about 10 years that we had this whole process took. But when you start thinking about, what's going to ultimately happen with the business, you want to make sure that you feel good about how you exit. That's the big buzzword is how are you going to exit the business, or are you ever going to exit? Do you want to just continue to run it?
Right.
So some of the companies that started when we did went public and they were, enormous. Did we want to do that? And for me, the answer was no. I just never wanted to be that, that size. So there were a few companies that sort of when it came closer to the time of our acquisition that we were talking to, and each company, it's very interesting to listen to their ideas and their strategy and like what were their plans for the business? Were they just going to tuck it in and, it was going to go away, or did they want us to be a standalone unit where we would continue to operate it and things like that? So there was a very interesting time just trying to figure out, what's the best path. And so, but just Disney felt right. It's just, iconic American company, of course. It just, everyone grows up with the, this is the American dream, in so many ways.
And you can trust them, they're a good company. I mean, that they're like the best, right?
Yeah. That's,
So did they take it completely over then? Did you kind of exit at that point?
No, so they bought the company. So, I no longer owned it, which was kind of something I had to process in my mind. I don't own this anymore. but I was still part of it. I worked for Disney for 2 years. I was an employee of Disney, which was really, really cool.
Wow.
Got the Mickey ears and everything with my name on it. It's very cool.
That's so fun.
That's really why,
that's really what you care about, right? That's all you want, the Mickey ears. That's pretty neat.
So no, it was really fun, and our colleagues were in North Hollywood, so I would go out there and do things with the team out there with the Disney Interactive Media Group, which is a great group of people, and integrated iParenting into the network, the Disney Family Network. So it was just I can't think of a better way, I think, if you're going to transition out of a business. Yeah. It was perfect. I was there for 2 years. I got to be the one to, integrate and lead that team. I got to relaunch a couple of our marquee websites, which was Pregnancy Today and Babies Today. And, those were the original babies in the network of, that I, started with. So it was a really great experience. So I have nothing but fond memories of Disney. And actually, being there was important for my transition to my next business, which is 30-second mobile.
Yes. And that's what I was thinking, is what a great learning experience too. I mean, not just that you built this company and sold it to Disney, but then you get to go work there and see how they work things and get that whole different perspective.
Absolutely. I learned so much, just from being at one of the world's greatest media companies, but also from the people, who work there, and just, listen to how they think and how they would approach things. And part of what I heard when I was there was mobile. We were all attached to these devices even back then. This is, 2009. And I'm, we're all realizing how attached to these devices we are. And so how are we going to reach those mobile consumers? How are we going to connect our brand partners with these mobile consumers? It became a challenge that media companies were facing. And so I thought, perfect.
Yes.
I'm going to figure this out,
So it literally gave you the idea for 30-second mobile.
Being there, it just was a really pivotal time in the industry. I think it was early, actually. I was on the early side of that, just like I was kind of on the early side of the .com boom, which is just a blessing. Being able to see, kind of what's around the bend is very helpful for an entrepreneur. I think that's probably, there's probably top 10 things that an entrepreneur needs, but that's one of them, is being able to kind of see a vision, of what you think the market, how the market will turn. So
where the need's going to be.
I saw it, and I was like, this is it. This is just like the .com, emergence. It's the mobile. It's not going to be the .com boom. It's going to be the mobile boom. And sure enough, by the time I built out 30-second mobile, everyone, it was like, the mobile frenzy had already begun. And there are, even now in 2015, there are some companies that are just realizing, oh my gosh, we need a mobile website, or we need to get, ourselves on mobile. It's like, yeah, we were thinking about this, a few years ago. So yeah, it's fun to be on the, forefront of things like that.
And I love that tip that you're sharing. It's not even more than a tip. It's just really what it takes to be an entrepreneur, is to be able to see, like you say, see the trends or see the needs, or, and, anticipate what's coming, in order to try to fill those and be on the front end of that. Now, what else? You just kind of mentioned, if there were a top 10 list of whatever, you don't have to even share 10, but that was one of my next questions is what does it take? I know that our listeners out there are probably thinking, I've got a great idea, or I've always wanted to start a business, or I've always wanted to pursue this career path of mine, and I just don't know what it takes to start my own thing. So obviously having that vision and that foresight is one thing, but what are some others that you think would be important for our listeners to focus on?
Yeah, I think one of the other top things that comes to mind, I have a few that are coming to mind right now, but one thing you really have to ask yourself is, how comfortable are you with risk? Because that's what it takes to be an entrepreneur, is you have to be able to be comfortable being uncomfortable or taking a risk. It's not a guaranteed paycheck. It's not a guaranteed, home run. It's not a guaranteed exit. It could fail. And I'm sure there are plenty of statistics on how many businesses fail. I choose not to focus on that.
Right.
Focus on success, not failure. But
that's right.
The point is that probably, more businesses are going to fail than will succeed. So you have to be comfortable with the fact that, you love this idea. The people that you've talked to love this idea. You've gone out and you've researched your idea. You've gotten feedback from the marketplace. You're feeling comfortable that there is a market for your business. It's not just a feel-good thing. People will actually pay you money to do this. And that's the ultimate, litmus test for a business, right? Will someone pay for this? So if you're not comfortable with, not getting paid for a while until the business takes off, and investing whatever it is, your time, your money, your anxiety, all those things, then it's probably not for you. That's one thing.
That's a biggie. And I just want to add in there, you're reminding me of just, I think the other part of that is being uncomfortable with feedback or rejection. Because you're right. It's, even as an author, I can totally relate to that. It's like, are people going to care? When I was writing This Is How I Grow, I was like, who cares about my story? I'm not famous. People don't know who I am. And do I even really have anything important to say? I don't know, so I took it to book clubs and I started having them read it and give me feedback. And then they're like, I love it. You have to finish it. So then it kind of puts you on that road. But then there is obviously the negative feedback and the rejections. And I was rejected by several publishers. And it's just, you do have to kind of put yourself in that arena and be willing to take, like you said, the risk and face the fears that you might have. In order to maybe have the result that you want. And also, exactly. I would guess, and I don't know what you're going to say next, but that also requires, sort of perseverance, right?
Oh my gosh. Is that my favorite word or what? It's absolutely perseverance. You have to, because how many businesses have failed on like the eve of the funding coming in the next day because the person just gave up? They gave up. You have to have that grit. I think that's a good word too. Grit, like perseverance, stick-to-itiveness, whatever that is, in order to make it work. And one quick personal story about me. When I was feeling out the Pregnancy Today idea back in 1996, I was asking my friends, and I'll never forget one of my friends telling me, Elisa, it's like, why on earth would you start a pregnancy magazine or a pregnancy website? Like, the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, tells you everything you need to know. And I was like,
oh gosh.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, I was like, you're right. For a second, I was like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
But I'm a journalist, and I know that a magazine and a website is far different than a book. And, I think if, and so anyway, I proceeded to interview 100 different pregnant women, didn't just stop with that one friend or even 5 friends, because the other 4 were like, yeah, do it, because they loved me and they believed in me. But
right.
You kind of balance.
You need people that don't know you and don't love you to give you the feedback, right? That's important.
Exactly. Yes. So I did. I had a background in market research, so I designed a survey. And I took it to 100 pregnant women throughout my Lamaze classes and everywhere that I was finding pregnant women. And I went through it, and the resounding answer after that 100 people survey was yes, 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 yes. So I knew that one person was sort of the anomaly, and I was going to go ahead with my vision. But boy, if you let the doubters get into your head, it's over. I could have been like, oh yeah, you're right, yeah.
That's so true, and that goes for anything that any of you out there listening might be trying to pursue. You might just want to create art, and you might just want to try to beautify the world, with your creativity or something. And you might not even be trying to start a business or earn money at your job. You might be trying to help people. Like I always feel like that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to reach people and help people. But, you've got to be able to stick with it and to be able to overcome the naysayers and to,
yes. Absolutely.
Believe in yourself is a biggie.
That's huge. Absolutely huge. And one other thing, and I know we'll move on, but that I truly believe is that your passion will lead to your success. If you, just like me, I was pouring my heart into that business, not because I wanted to sell the business to Disney, but because I loved it. I believed in it. I truly felt that I was making a difference. And to me, like every single, period and comma had to be in the right place, because that was just what I wanted to put out there,
Mm-hmm.
excellence and great stuff. And that, I believe, really eventually led to, our success. It was like everything was well done. We were doing things that helped people. We were connecting people around the globe. And when you do something that is truly from a good place,
Right.
and people know that, and it's well done, and you're passionate, and so it's contagious, right? People want to be part of that because they feel it and they're like, oh, that's cool. That's good stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. That's a biggie. And that passion can get you really far, and it can, but it also, these other qualities are really important for the times when the passion dies, or you're a little bit tired, or or a lot
there's
tired.
no question.
Right. Or you're feeling criticized or whatever. So, Elisa just has so much wisdom to share on all of this. And I wish we could just hear all of your stories, because you have so much good. We'll have to have you back for sure to talk more and share more stories. But what I really want to focus on, kind of with probably with the remainder of our time, is for our listeners out there, who are listening to us talk and hearing your amazing story, and, maybe thinking, oh gosh, I don't know how to make that work because I've got these kids and I'm a mom. And you and I know you and I were kind of, even in preparing for the show, we kept using that elusive balance word, which neither one of us particularly loves that word. And, I'm going to share why I don't love it, and then you can share why you don't love it. And then we'll talk a little bit about how we can find that sense of balance, I guess, for lack of a better word. And the reason why I don't love the word balance is because I think a lot of people are always trying to find balance, and they're like seeking it and searching for it. And it's like a lot of us feel like if we could just do find the right balance, then everything would be okay. But it really, balance is a feeling. It's a sensation. It's kind of like a state of being. It's not a thing that you can go get. So what I always say is, instead of seeking balance, look at your choices, look at what you're choosing to do with your time and with your energy. And, those are the things that are going to lead you to feeling balanced. That's my take. So what's your take?
Oh, I like that. That's good. Let me write that down.
Thank you.
Very good.
You're very good.
I think you're absolutely right. And on the days that I feel balanced, it's because I feel like I've done all parts of my world fairly well. So for me, it's like, if I have a decent day, doing my job, if I feel like I did well for my kids, and then somehow maybe I escaped for myself, like whether it's a yoga class or a walk, something like that centers me and my brain, then I feel like, oh gosh, today was a good balance day or something.
Right.
Because it's about how you feel up here as opposed to some physical thing that you can create.
Right.
So you're absolutely right about that. And I go back to what we said earlier in the show about having it all, but not all at once. I feel like I've covered a lot in my career as a mom. I've been there, I think, for the kids as much as I could, while also doing what I did with the business. And there were the certain days when I didn't do the field trip because I had to do something very pivotal for the job, but mostly I was on those field trips. Right. I was the Girl Scout leader. I feel good about those choices, and kind of most of the time, the kids, it was seamless. They didn't really know that mom was doing this big thing. And then I don't think they even really cared that the business sold to Disney, because mom and, it's just, their parents were there. Yeah. So that felt really good to me.
And that's what counts. I just want to say that's really what counts. You're making such an important point. And I know you, and I know you are a fabulous mother, and that you prioritize that. And that's one thing that I guess I would put out there for all of you listeners is I really do think it comes down to priorities. And I said choices, but you make your choices based on what matters most, right? So when your family matters that much, you do make the tough choices to miss that important day at work because your child's sick and you need to be home, or to miss that field trip because there was this really important opportunity that you really couldn't pass up. And I feel the same way. I feel like each day presents new choices, but I make them based on my priorities. And that's why I think it's important for all of us to check in all the time and say, okay, what are my top 5 priorities and what really matters most to me? And then look at our time and say, am I spending my time in the way that matters most? Because there might be some moms out there who one of their priorities might be to fulfill their dreams, but they're not doing anything during the week to actually let themselves do that because they feel like my kids need me all the time, and maybe they won't let themselves take a little bit of time to work on that too,
Exactly. I think that's an excellent point. And I also want to say to moms, you really do need to take care of yourself, because like that I mentioned, yoga, that's become a really important thing for me, and how I get that breather that I need to feel centered or whatever. But a lot of moms, don't. And I see, a lot of moms who have depression, even beyond postpartum.
Mm-hmm.
They're depressed, they're, a lot of anxiety, a lot of issues that happen because they don't take care of themselves. So that's one thing that I would really stress, whether you're working or you're staying at home or both, however you run your life, is you need to carve out a little bit of time. And I'm guilty of not doing it nearly enough. But Christy, you help me so much with your reminders, and self-care. It's huge. Really huge for moms.
It is. And I agree. I'm still always trying to work on it myself. It is that daily choices that we make for ourselves. And, but this topic comes up all the time because I think as moms, it is really one of the most important things that we need to do.
Yes.
And then as far as logistically, I mean, you kind of shared with me like telecommuting, hiring help. There's also ways to make things work logistically when you want to when you're in that phase of life or in that season of life when you want to try to do both.
Yeah. What's so cool is now with technology, obviously you can work from anywhere, but there's .coms that will help you find jobs so that you can stay home and work when the baby's napping. Just like I said, that's kind of how I started my business. I thought I would work when the baby's sleeping. Well, whether it's like a site like Odesk, or I have a friend in the Middle East who started Nabesh.com, it's like a freelance marketplace where you just log in and you're like, oh, I can take that design job. It'll take me 5 hours to knock it out. And that client will be happy. I'll have made some money. I'll have engaged my brain for a while in a professional pursuit that makes me feel good. I think that's an awesome solution for moms of all types. You can do, virtual work from your home that clients hugely benefit from your skill set, your flexibility. They can probably save some money on not having a full-time employee. There's an enormous marketplace now for stay-at-home work. So I think if I was doing it again, and I was, not the entrepreneurial type, that's what I would do. I would stay home with my kids because that's what I want to do. And I would just take freelance jobs, whenever I could fit them in. I think that's a brilliant solution.
That is. I didn't know about that. I wasn't aware of that, but you're so right. With technology, it's gotten so easy. I mean, right now I'm at home recording a radio show, and I do Skype therapy at home a lot of the time, and I write at home, so it's amazing what we can be doing in our homes with, with our children, still being there for them when they need us, with all the technology. And also that other part of hiring help when you can afford it, when you're ready, when that season of your life comes. When you get to the point, I think when I first hired my first cleaning lady, it was at the point where I realized my time is worth more for me to go see a client than to clean my house, that it's so much better. And then you come home and my peace of mind is there. So, when you can hire babysitting help or cleaning help or assistant help or whatever you need.
Yes. And I know since money is an issue for, many people, there's not so much a new trend, but a strong trend of cooperative, moms helping other moms.
Oh, yeah.
So if for whatever reason you feel like you need that money for the household budget, you don't want to spend it on that, then why not, say, hey, mom, friend of mine, take my kids for 3 hours this afternoon so I can go do this meeting or whatever it is that you have to do, and then you'll take her kids the next day for 3 hours or whatever. And I think that that's a really great way for moms. Moms are each other's best friends. Really, we need to
help each other. I say that all the time. We do. And we need to rely on each other and let the other people help us, because it is, and let's just abolish this myth right here that it's good for it's not bad for the kids to do this. It's good for the kids. It's good for them to get to go play, even as a baby, to be around another baby or to be in someone else's home or to have someone else, interact with them. It's good for them.
Completely agree. And I mean, this whole thing now of, helicopter moms and things. I mean, I think it is good for both parent and child, being honest. Let's get a little bit of the, giving the kid a little bit of room to breathe. Just saying, give them a little bit of room, a little bit of independence. And the mom too, just separate. I've seen a lot of codependence and stuff, and it's,
yeah, it's good for both.
Yeah. It's good for both.
And I think, one thing maybe we could wrap up on this is that it's my belief, and something that like I said at the beginning, I've struggled with this, should I be working? Should I not? Should I be home? Blah, blah, blah. Because I'm like you, I have that kind of brain that needs to be engaged. I just feel like I can't not do it. But one thing that I know is that when I am engaged in activities, whether they be business, hobbies, whatever I've done over my life, that where I get to use my skills and my talents and my brain and whatever for the greater good, I feel lit up. And I want my kids to see that. And I feel like I'm a better mom because of that, because I'm happier. And they get to come, when your kids get to come, like I know you've done too, like your kids come with you, like that my kids have come and heard me speak or something, and they get to see what you're doing and they get to be part of that. It's a really great experience.
Yeah, no, it really is. I even have taken my kids on to conferences, speaking in Miami, and they came and watched me do that, or they helped me man a booth when we were, passing out flyers about, 30-second mom. I mean, it is good. It's a healthy thing. It helps them see not only what their mom does, but gives them ideas for their own future. It gives exposure to what kind of the real world is like, It's good.
Absolutely. So that's kind of a good way for us to wrap up the interview part of this. And actually, I'm going to keep Elisa around for a few minutes because she's going to be part of our final segment here, which is our simple solution segment, which actually goes right along with our topic. And today we're going to feature her brand of 30-second mobile, which is 30-second mom.
Yay!
So, yay! Okay, so I'm just going to briefly share why I chose this one. Obviously, okay, I'm a little biased because I'm a contributor, but I learn a lot from the tips on 30-second mom, and I find it very easy to use, very helpful, and it's something that I hope all of our listeners out there will check out. So will you tell us a little bit about 30-second mom, Elisa, and what it has to offer moms?
Sure. Well, it's exactly what you said. It is, 30-second tips from a range of experts like yourself that all have a wonderful, credible, authentic message to share. So we have about 145 contributors now who are all experts in some areas. So, you're a wonderful psychologist. We've got fitness experts. We've got doctors, people with a real level of credibility and expertise. And we're basically, cutting out the journalists. So we're cutting out myself, from and just taking the heart of what the message is. So instead of me interviewing this person, reporting back, well, Dr. Christy says blah, 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 we're going to Dr. Christy, and she will give you that 30-second nugget of information that will help you. So whether it's a tip on postpartum depression or self-care, or a doctor talking about, when Ebola was big, tips about Ebola, how to talk to your kids, things that are, on the cutting edge, and things that are evergreen. So certain things about parenting will always be an issue. Pregnancy topics. So we cover a variety of subjects, about 15 different categories, ranging from pregnancy to health to food, fitness and technology and home. And we're just boiling down these little tips that will help you, little life hacks, if you will help you in some way, but won't take much of your time. So the idea is that when you're sitting in the school carpool line, or you're waiting in the grocery store, you'll pull out the app, or you'll bring it up on your phone, on your browser, and you'll just read a tip or two that will make a difference in your life. We want to, change your life for the better in 30 seconds or less.
And that's what you're doing. I think these tips are really fabulous. They cover everything. I mean, you could, from travel to making food to holiday, I mean, everything possible that you can think of, and you can select who you want to follow. You can also select the types of topics you want, right? And then you get kind of a personalized stream of tips for what you're looking for.
Exactly.
And, yeah, go ahead.
So it's like, exactly right. You're creating your own stream based on your preferences. So if you know that you want self-care tips, or, doctor health-oriented tips, you can follow the doctors. You can, tailor it. Or if you want to just do all the categories, if you select on health, for example, you'll get all the health tips from any doctor or any person that's going to. Exactly. So you create it, it will remember you if you create an account. And so you'll see when you come back the next day, oh, you have 5 new tips or whatever. So it's designed to sort of grow with you. But we are in kind of an exciting phase because we're going to be relaunching it soon. The technology will be better, and so I'm very, very excited about that.
Yay!
You know, it's like phase 2.
I'm excited too. I'm glad I'm part of it. It's super. It's just been a wonderful experience being part of it. And all these wonderful women, I've met so many people through there. Some of them have been on the show. I'm having you on the show. We've become friends. It's just a wonderful, wonderful way to just get easy, quick, simple tips. Now tell the listeners, how do they access this? Where do they find this? I know you have a website and the app. So tell them about that.
Yes, so it's an app for your iPhone or your Android, and you can get a link to both of those from the homepage of the website. If it's easiest, just to go to 30secondmom.com, and then you can download the app from there if you want to, or just create an account on the website that works both on your computer and on your mobile phone. So it's designed to be easy wherever you'll access it most. And then if you create an account, no matter where you access it from, whether it's the web or your mobile, it will remember you. So it'll go with you from phone to computer or whatever. So 30secondmom.com is probably the easiest way to find us. And then one thing too that you've been a part of that I think is really fun for listeners to hear about is our 30 Second Mom Twitter chats. Oh, yeah. Those are, every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Central Time, we have a different expert that comes on for a really focused discussion on a particular topic. So it's really fun, whether it's travel or health topics, whatever. The expert will do an interview, a live interview, and then people can ask their own questions. And then we take that content and we also put it on our blog so that people who don't attend the chat can also read it. So that's a pretty cool part of what we do. It's really fun. So if you're on Twitter, join the 30 Second Mom Twitter chat every Wednesday night at 8 Central. Correct? Exactly. Yeah. And 6 Pacific, 8 Central. And it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of great people. I mean, it's funny because my husband teases me about how I can have friends from Twitter, but I've made actual real life friends from Twitter, from these chats and from being part of 30 Second Mom. So definitely you want to check it out and be part of this great community. It is such a wonderful, simple solution for whatever you're looking for. Basically, it has all kinds of simple solutions. So thank you, Elisa All, for joining us here today, for talking with us about 30 Second Mom and also about being an entrepreneur and a mom and how we can make it work. And tell the people how they can find you. They can find you on 30secondmom.com, correct? Yes, I'm on 30 Second Mom. And that hashtag, by the way, is just hashtag 30 Second Mom. That's right. So if you're looking for us on Twitter. But yeah, I'm on Twitter at 30 Second Mom, or my personal one is at Elisa Talk. From at Elisa Talk, I actually tweet a lot of entrepreneurial stuff. So if you're interested in any of the things that we talked about, women in business, moms in business, I tweet a lot about that. So that's a good way to get information from me about that. And just, I would love to connect. We're on Pinterest at 30 Second Mom, and basically everything is at 30 Second Mom. So please, connect. I'd love to hear from you guys. Yeah, definitely check it out. It's great resources. And I've had a few friends who joined Twitter just to see the 30 Second Mom tips and just to do the Twitter chats. So, and I get to do it every once in a while and be the guest, and it's really fun. And I hope you guys will connect up with Elisa. She is obviously a wealth of information, and she's just a wonderful person too. Wonderful mom, wonderful person, wonderful friend. Thank you. Right back at you. I really appreciate having you in my life. And I hope all you listeners out there, again, thank you for tuning in each week. And I hope that you will choose to continue to grow with us here on Motherhood instead of just going through it. And be sure to visit my website, drchristinahibbert.com, for more information on today's topic and others like it, and usually blog post or two that might go along with it as well. So join up with us there, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.